Controlling anger is the ultimate advantage in any situation. Miyamoto Musashi's 4-step method for controlling anger helped him maintain perfect clarity in 60 duels to the death. This same approach is just as effective for today's challenges, giving you control in arguments, conflicts, and frustrating situations. In this video, we'll break down all 4 parts of his practical system, starting with the foundation that transforms how you understand anger itself. Most anger management advice is incomplete. It focuses on what to do after you're already angry, but by then, you're already fighting an uphill battle. Conventional approaches often overlook the critical first step that makes everything else work. Musashi discovered something decisive during his earliest duels. Anger follows a predictable pattern that begins before you even feel it. While his opponents would suddenly explode in rage, Musashi trained himself to notice the early signals of anger. In his famous duel with Sasaki Kojiro, Musashi deliberately arrived hours late to the island where they would fight. Kojiro, furious about having to wait in the hot sun, lost his composure completely. Meanwhile, Musashi remained clear-headed, noticing his own irritation at Kojiro's insults, but stopping it before it escalated further. The core insight here is that anger always announces itself before it takes control. Your heartbeat quickens, your muscles tense, and your breathing changes, all before you consciously feel angry. Here's what recognition looks like in practice. When someone cuts you off in traffic, most people immediately react. Musashi, on the other hand, would notice the sudden grip on the steering wheel, the sharp intake of breath. By spotting these reactions instantly, you gain control before anger takes hold. Modern neuroscience confirms what Musashi discovered through combat. Brain scans show that physical signs of anger appear up to 7 seconds before you consciously feel the emotion. These crucial seconds determine whether you maintain control or lose it. The key difference between Musashi and most people isn't that he never felt the initial triggers of anger. It's that he noticed them immediately, while most people only become aware once the emotion has already taken control. Recognition works by exploiting a fundamental aspect of how your brain processes emotion. The limbic system, your emotional center, activates first, sending physiological signals throughout your body. Only later does your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part, become aware of the emotion. By training yourself to notice these physical signals immediately, you insert awareness into this gap. Recognition gives you the critical first seconds of awareness. But what do you do in those seconds? This is where Musashi's second principle comes in: distancing. Most people become their anger. They say, "I am angry," rather than, "I feel anger." This subtle difference is crucial. When you become the emotion, you lose all perspective and control. Musashi understood this trap and developed emotional distancing. In his writings, Musashi described observing emotions like clouds passing in the sky. He watched his feelings without becoming them, creating a mental space between himself and his reactions. This distance allowed him to see clearly when his opponents lost focus. One particularly revealing duel shows this principle in action. A younger swordsman challenged Musashi with provocative taunts about Musashi's simple appearance and unconventional fighting style. The young man deliberately tried to anger Musashi, hoping he would act rashly. Instead, Musashi observed his irritation without judgment, maintaining measured and precise movements. The younger swordsman, frustrated by Musashi's calm, eventually attacked carelessly, creating an opening for Musashi to end the duel with a single stroke. In another instance, a rival school sent their champion to challenge Musashi. This opponent arrived with a large entourage dressed in impressive attire, while Musashi appeared in simple clothes. The champion tried psychological warfare, making cutting remarks about Musashi's humble background. While anyone else might have become defensive or angry, Musashi simply noted these feelings arising, without becoming them. His emotional distance allowed him to see the strategic purpose behind the insults and respond with calculated precision instead of emotional reaction. This distancing technique is effective because of how our brains process emotions. When you say, "I am angry," you activate the amygdala, your brain's emotional center, which reduces blood flow to your prefrontal cortex, literally making you less intelligent in that moment. But when you observe, "I notice anger arising," you engage your prefrontal cortex, maintaining rational thinking when you need it most. Here's how to apply this right away. When you detect the first signs of anger, mentally step back and label what's happening. There's tension in my shoulders. My breathing is changing. Anger is forming. This simple act of labeling creates the critical distance that prevents you from becoming the emotion. High-level negotiators use this approach during tense international talks when counterparts make unreasonable demands designed to provoke. They mentally note that frustration is arising instead of becoming frustrated. This enables them to maintain strategic clarity while others lose composure. When you create space between yourself and anger, you gain options. You're no longer driven by the emotion. You can use its energy strategically or let it pass without acting on it. This is why Musashi remained unpredictable in combat. While his opponents reacted in predictable emotional patterns, he responded with strategic clarity, creating confusion that gave him the decisive advantage. The same provocations that make others lose control become valuable data about your opponent's strategy and state of mind. But emotional distancing alone doesn't complete the control system. Musashi paired it with a specific physical technique that creates immediate calm, even in the most intense situations. Part 3. The breathing method. Throughout his writings, particularly in the Book of Five Rings, Musashi emphasized the importance of proper breathing for maintaining composure. While he didn't describe his exact method in detail, historical records show that his training was deeply influenced by Zen Buddhism, which he studied extensively during his later years. The breathing technique Musashi likely developed combines elements of Zen meditation practices and martial preparation. In Zen monasteries of feudal Japan, monks practiced a breathing pattern called Tanden breathing, focusing breath energy in the lower abdomen to create unshakable stability. Samurai adapted these techniques for combat situations where steady breath meant steady hands. After Musashi's famous duel with the Yoshio brothers, where he fought multiple opponents, witnesses noted his remarkably controlled breathing during intense combat. While others gasped and panted, Musashi maintained a rhythmic breathing pattern that kept him centered throughout the fight. Here's how the technique works. When you detect the first signs of anger and create distance from the emotion, immediately shift to a specific breathing pattern. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, filling your lungs from the bottom up. Feel your abdomen expand first, then your chest. Hold this breath briefly for 1 second. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. completely emptying your lungs. Make your exhale longer than your inhale. This is key to activating your body's calming response. This 4 to 6 breathing pattern is crucial. The extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's built-in calming mechanism. This immediately counteracts the fight-or-flight response triggered by anger. When angry, your breathing naturally becomes rapid and shallow, sending danger signals to your brain. By deliberately extending your exhale longer than your inhale, you override these signals and tell your brain, there is no danger here. Elite military units and special forces operators use variations of this technique during high-stress operations. When split-second decisions mean life or death, they rely on tactical breathing to maintain optimal cognitive function. Studies show that those who master breathing techniques make better decisions under pressure than those who don't. Olympic athletes also use this method before crucial moments. Watch carefully during competitions, and you'll often see top performers taking controlled breaths before executing their skills. To incorporate this into your life, practice the 4 to 6 pattern daily so it becomes automatic when needed. Start with just 5 breaths each morning. When you encounter a triggering situation, first recognize the anger signals. Create mental distance, then immediately apply the breathing technique. Recognition helps you spot anger. Distancing prevents you from becoming it. The breathing technique gives you physiological control that makes both more effective. Musashi's complete system has one final component. Part 4. Strategic response. Most people respond to provocation in one of 2 ways. They either lash out impulsively or suppress their reaction completely. Both approaches are flawed. Impulsive reactions surrender control, while complete suppression wastes valuable emotional energy. Musashi discovered a third option that his opponents never expected: strategic response. In the Book of 5 Rings, he wrote, "The way is in training." This simple statement reveals his insight about emotional control. By transforming emotional energy into disciplined action, he gained a decisive edge over opponents who either exploded with rage or froze with hesitation. This principle was evident in Musashi's approach to unexpected challenges. When ambushed by the Hosokawa clan's warriors, Musashi didn't waste energy on anger at the dishonorable surprise attack. Instead, he immediately assessed the tactical situation and chose a position that neutralized their numerical advantage. His ability to channel emotional intensity into strategic clarity saved his life when reactive anger would have meant certain death. The key insight is that anger contains tremendous energy. The mistake most people make is either unleashing this energy chaotically or suppressing it completely. Musashi's approach was to redirect it, using the heightened awareness and physiological activation to fuel decisive action that serves your actual objective. In modern combat sports, this principle is clear. UFC champion Georges St-Pierre was known for his calm, strategic approach during fights. When opponents tried to provoke him with trash talk or aggressive rushes, he would redirect that energy into perfectly timed takedowns. While others fought from emotion, St-Pierre fought from strategy, a distinction that helped him dominate his division for years. In jiu-jitsu, this principle is demonstrated in every match. When caught in a submission attempt, the untrained response is panic, either thrashing wildly or freezing completely. Elite practitioners instead use that moment of pressure to execute precise technical responses. They transform the heightened energy of the threatening situation into focused movement. This approach works just as effectively in professional settings. When faced with a colleague who undermines you in a meeting, your immediate impulse might be either to attack back or withdraw completely. Strategic response offers a third option. Acknowledge the feeling. Take a controlled breath, then redirect that energy toward your actual objective, perhaps by calmly refocusing the discussion on data that supports your position. Recognition gives you awareness of anger before it takes control. Distancing prevents you from becoming the emotion. Breathing regulates your physiological state, and strategic response channels the energy toward purposeful outcomes. The complete system works because it aligns with how your brain and body naturally process emotion. It doesn't fight your responses, it transforms them. When practiced together, these four components create a seamless flow from initial trigger to effective action in seconds. This same system that preserved Musashi's life in 60 consecutive duels can transform how you handle modern challenges, giving you an edge that others don't have.